So today we are going to go over a simple game for bowling. We're going to implement the scoring calculator for a bowling game. The game consists of 10 frames, so each player gets 10 rounds. In each round you have 2 chances to throw the ball. So there are 10 pins and the goal is to knock all of them down. And the easiest way is if you don't end up knocking all the 10 pins down, your score would be the total of the pins that you knock down. So in the first frame, if you see here, you do 1 in the first round, in the first turn, 4 in the second, so your total is 5. There are also bonuses for strikes and spares. What is a strike? When you knock all 10 in your first try, in each frame. And spares is when you knock all 10 in 2 attempts in each frame. So there is a bonus if you end up knocking down all the 10 pins in each frame. So a spare is when the player knocks down all 10 pins in 2 tries. The bonus for that is the number of pins knocked down, so that's technically 10 because you knocked down 10 pins. And also the number of pins knocked down by the next roll. So for example, here it gets a little complicated. So you have 5 from your first frame. And from your second frame, you have 9. For the second one also, you didn't end up doing all 10. So that's 9, that's just the sum. So the first one, you knock down 5, you get 5. Second frame, you knock down 9, it still isn't all 10, so you get plus 9, which is 14. In the third round, this is a spare. So in the first try, you knock down 6. And in your second try, you knock down the remaining 4, so you had a spare. So what happens here is that you get that 10 points for knocking down the pins, so that would be 14 plus 10, 24. And you also get whatever knocked down in the next try, in the first try. So you knock down 5 here, so that would be 5 plus 24, which is 29. What happens here, this is another spare. So you had 10, which is added to this number, so that would be 39. And then because it is a spare, you get also the points, whatever point you get in your next try. So the next try, you knock down all 10 in your first try. So you get 10 here, so 10 will be added to 39. So this would be 49. And here, because it is a strike, so for a strike you get points for the next 2 tries. So a spare is only the next try. Strike is next 2 tries. So here, so you have 49. You knock down 10, so that would be added to this, would be 59. And in your next round, so you end up not knocking down any of them in the first try, but in your second try, you knock down 1. So you get a total number of 1 in this frame. That would be added to 59. And so this becomes 60, and that 1 will be added to whatever you had here, becomes 61. So there's also a case for the last frame. So if in the last frame you do a spare, you get an additional throw. If you do a strike, you get additional 2 throws. So technically the rules continue for the 10th frame, but not after that. So you potentially can get 1 or 2 more tries based on what you do in the 10th frame. Now, we want to follow TDD to make a game that calculates this. So we just think about different cases, different things that can happen. So one of them is when you don't reach 10. So you want the score to be just the total of the number of pins that you knock down in that frame. If there's a spare, you want to include the bonus as well as strike. And they are two different situations. So I already started doing some part of the code. I made a new project called bowling TDD. So what I get is this. So that would be my brand new project. And what I do, I'll add the test class because it's TDD. We are going to start with tests. I'm going to my test class. I call it bowling game test.java. Well, the Java is automatically added. So I start writing my first test case. The first test case is called Gutter test. The Gutter game means if you don't end up knocking down all 10 in one frame. So I create an object, bowling game. I name it bowling game. And I say that this is a new instance of that class. What happens here, and this is what I've already done, so it tells me that I don't have a class named bowling game. I right click on it, I build the class bowling game. What happens is that it gives me this, an empty class called bowling game. And now I start to write down the logic. So I have an iterator that goes from 0 to 19. And I want to add that to my bowling game for each roll. So for each frame, we have 2 throws, and in each throw, I can knock down 10. So that's where the 20 comes from. If you don't understand the logic for now, that's okay, because we'll get back to it. That's how we do TDD, and then we come back, refactor, and make the code cleaner so it makes more sense. So inside here, I say that my object, bowling game, I want to have a method called roll, and I say how many pins I knock down. So my sample entry is 0. Then again, it tells me that this object doesn't have the method roll. So I'll right click on it, I say that I want to implement it, and it gives me this method. What I do next is, after this for loop, I want to see whether actually, if I try 20 times and I didn't end up knocking any pins, so that would be 0, I want to see if my method in the class for the score will give me the same amount. So when I write this, it again tells me that there is no method called score. So I right click on it, I implement it, and what I end up with is something like this. Actually, I can do it again to show you. So here it says we don't have this method, so we can create it. And now here it tells me what is the return type of this method. So this is a score, and it would be only an integer, so I choose integer. And by default, it returns 0. For now, we want to have something that can't be the case, because we want our test case to fail. So I do -1, because it's not possible to have the score of -1 in bowling. What I do next is that I run my test. And as we expected, it tells that the test failed. Why? Because we expected 0, but what my method gave me back was -1. So what do we do from here? So we want this test to pass. So we go here, and we do the bare minimum to make the test pass. Try again. And okay, so it tells us that the test passed. Now we continue. Let's do another test case. I call it roll all ones. So if I just end up rolling one pin every single time that I try. So we create a new object. All right, now, so we say if I did 20 tries, now we're assuming that if we only just knock down one each time. All right.